Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Callum and Coldwater Falls Zoo is back. After months of uncertainty, the zoo isn't just restarting, I'm redefining the zoo experience, starting with a spectacular entrance. This episode I unveil the Malayan Wonders, an all-new entrance experience that transports us to the vibrant lush rainforests of Southeast Asia. From the elusive clouded leopard to the popcorn-smelling binturong, Malayan Wonders is packed with amazing animals to see. So let's set this straight, as I know some of us are pretty confused with what's happening with the zoo. Coldwater Falls Zoo, as its first edition with the Inca Trail, Alaskan Wilderness and Untamed India, is over. I will not be working on that map ever again, so please don't ask when the next Alaskan Wilderness episode is, as you'll be waiting quite some time. Coldwater Falls, as long-time viewers of this channel know, is my first ever creative zoo project since mostly leaving the zoo recreations. This obviously is a learning experience, getting to know my creative abilities, especially where my strengths and weaknesses lie. Going from basically copying a real zoo completely to actually having to come up with ideas was a shock to me. As mentioned before, the zoo lost touch with its original goal. Unrealistic habitat sizes and scaling completely wrong led to me to distance myself from many aspects of the zoo. It was at some point during the orangutan build at the Omaha Zoo Recreation where my creativity finally unlocked, making me believe the Coldwater Falls Zoo can do much better than the unorganised mess it really was. The first version of Coldwater Falls remains as an untouched zoo map. Everything is all still there, so no worries about me deleting anything. Instead, the second version of the zoo, as I do love the name, moves to a new map. Starting all again with a better vision to suit the name and having a much more consistent zoo plan than the mix and match that the first version very much became. The zoo has a great vision now, moved to the state of Minnesota to become a cold weather, realistic North American zoo. We start off by looking at the Como Park Zoo, found in St. Paul, the capital city of Minnesota. The zoo itself isn't too impressive at just a tiny 17 acres big, but the entrance and neighbouring conservatory are something else. The entrance at the zoo consists of a modern zoo visitor centre and a historic conservatory complex. This episode we are looking at the visitor centre building, which is a pretty modern building featuring visitor amenities and an indoor tropical house. The most notable part of the visitor centre is clearly the tropical house. The left side of the centre features this highly complicated but visually stunning glass roof. This does in a way also look like a waterfall with multiple glass sections, a perfect entrance for a zoo called Coldwater Falls. Custom glass roofing is difficult on its own. Creating these huge angled segments to line them up perfectly is a whole other challenge. The glass roof consists of virtually two pieces, glass panes and Australian metal beams. And lots of them at that. When fully finished, the absolute jumble of glass and beams will be about 5,000 pieces, and that's just the glass part of the roof. The visitor centre itself is a massive building housing the tropical house, the visitor entrance walkway, a gift shop, toilets and a cafe. In my version, we can also expect to look forward to a monorail station as I prepare to introduce a proper transport ride through the zoo heavily inspired by the old Minnesota Zoo monorail. Although that's for another episode, as there's plenty going on today. At the Como Park Zoo, underneath all this glass is the zoo's tropical house called Tropical Encounters, which is described by the zoo as a total immersion experience of a neo-tropical rainforest. This is essentially a brief tour of the South American rainforest with sloths, free-flying birds, snakes, fish and turtles, surrounded by an immersive canopy of South American trees. I'm sure you noticed that there are barely any wow animals mentioned there, as the actual tropical house interior isn't that big. So, for the Coldwater Falls Zoo, I have increased the space of the tropical house to accommodate room for several animal habitats, especially much more exciting than a bunch of fish tanks on a sloth tree. Enter the Malayan wonders, an immersive experience of the rainforests of Malaysia. In Southeast Asia, enter the Malayan wonders, an immersive experience of the rainforests of Malaysia. In Southeast Asia. I'll say this wasn't easy to plan, given the limited space and trying to create realistic habitat sizes alongside an exciting experience for the guests. But why Malaysia of all places? I thought a different style of tropical house would be a much more exciting thing to build than the usual Amazon rainforest, Congo rainforest, or those 3-in-1 tropical houses trying to cram in as much as possible. Malaysia is one of those underrepresented themes in a zoo despite being one of the biodiversity hotspots of the world, with a range of endangered that will get sidelined by Indonesia or a general Southeast Asian theme instead. The first idea of the Malayan wonders really tried to include Malayan tapirs inside the tropical house, like those found in the Minnesota Zoo Tropics Trail or the Lade Jungle at the Henry Dooley Zoo. But create a tapir-oriented tropical house without a tiny habitat led to half the house being dedicated just to one habitat. Something like 20 different layout plans were made trying to fight with the interior space until I basically gave up. The tapirs aren't going to be missing though, I'll get to that in a bit. Inside the Malayan Wonder Tropical House, we will instead find 6 animal habitats, all realistically sized, so no habitat is larger than 400 meters squared. Keeping to realistic size habitats is a sure way to vastly improve my habitat building skills, where I don't have to allocate more space and computer performance than what is really necessary. Rather than taking inspiration from the tropical encounters at the Como Park Zoo, I instead look at the Toronto Zoo in Canada to see what a Malaysian house can look like. At the Toronto Zoo, they have the Indo-Malaya Pavilion with a large interior building with lots of exciting animals. That building is much larger than the space I really have to work with, so key inclusions like gibbons and orangutans cannot be included inside. The tropical rainforest experience of all kinds of birds, snakes, fish, and other interesting animals, however, is of excellent inspiration. I decided on the following animals to include: false gharial, rhinoceros hornbill, clouded leopard, binturong, Asian forest tortoise, and provost squirrel. These habitat animals are backed up with an aquarium for freshwater fish, such as the Asian iguana and giant gourami, and exhibits including static animals such as the mangrove snake, Malayan pit viper, Malaysian giant leaf insect, and tokay gecko. Last of all, there is an Malayan pit viper, Malaysian giant leaf insect, and tokay gecko. Last of all, there is an aviary housing static birds such as silver pheasant, bally myna, white-crested laughing thrush, and jambu fruit dove. Back to those tapirs, the Malayan Wonders doesn't end at the tropical house. There are definitely some major emissions from the chosen indoor lineup of animals, most notably the Malayan tapir and any sort of primate. In an ideal world, I would love to include the likes of the proboscis monkey, but a realistic zoo, being a realistic zoo, cannot use them unless it's based in Southeast Asia, like say the Singapore Zoo. Instead, the outdoor portion of Malayan Wonders, whether it still carries that name is still undecided, but we can possibly expect to see outdoor habitats for Malayan tapir, Siamang gibbon, silvered leaf monkey, and maybe even banteng, educating about the declining status of endangered animals. Not too sure just yet, but we can definitely expect no tigers, as I have a place for them elsewhere in the zoo as the Amur tiger. Alright, so the roof of the entrance still continues, although the glass roof is pretty much complete after a very difficult time trying to line up all those glass panes. It's near perfect though, and easily the highlight of the build. The remaining portion of the roof, we'll say about 60% of the visitor centre, is covered in a typical modern metal cladding material. As the metal clad roof in game can't work with such a custom shaped building, I opt to use the girder beams and 2D arch shapes. Easy, yes. Tedious, also yes. It involves a long time duplicating the girder beams to cover the entire roof, then fitting in a 2D arch shape rectangle to add to that two colour tone difference. The interior of the entrance building is definitely a complicated one. It is a 2-floor interior with the guest entrance, a cafe, a gift shop, a visitor services desk, toilets, a monorail station, the Malayan Wonders Tropical House, and 2 viewing galleries for the Tropical House as well. To say this is a busy entrance is an understatement. As such, I've decided to not build the entire interior this episode. This includes the monorail station, cafe, and gift shop. The monorail especially will fit in much better as a dedicated focus in an episode where we can see a portion of it travel through an animal zone, perhaps the next stage of the Malayan Wonders. The entrance interior starts with the airlock room, or whatever it is known as, with the 2 doors keeping the temperature of the building steady. This is pretty important when considering winter temperatures in a northern zoo. Very much like the glass roof, the metal sliding doors are simply made out of metal beams and glass panes. For extra detail, the sensor above the door is made out of those wooden East Asia themed brackets, which adds to that nice curved shape of it to break up the more industrial looking plaster walls and floors. A combination of Indonesian brick walls and stained wood panels for the interior roof offer a nice modern blend that keeps the interior bright and welcoming. With the open layout of the interior of the upper floor, I decided to go with a more realistic style of flooring rather than functional for actual paths. The second floor, first floor, upper floor, whatever you want to call it, is made out of the plaster panels and then supported by a realistic series of plaster beams or grids between actual roof supports. The reason for this is because of the open atrium style of interior, where the upper floor can look down to the first floor and vice versa. One of the most important things here is the addition of proper roof supports. Many creators tend to forget the addition of adding in proper roof supports because it ruins the aesthetic or for whatever reason, but is a key part of a realistic interior. This entrance building cleverly utilises decorative wooden slat supports that look so much nicer than a simple wall column or metal girder frame. While not recorded here, I did update the slat supports with the conservation slat wood and black 2D arch-shaped blocks inside to create a much nicer texture. I didn't like the look and the piece count of making these entirely out of arch shapes. These slat supports then do the heavy lifting, quite literally, of the interior design for the ground level floor. It helps create the shape of the Malayan Wonders viewing gallery and the entrances to the tropical house as well. Between these slat supports then is a nice large viewing gallery into the aquatic habitat for the Malayan Wonders. Lots of these glass thin panes work perfectly with the modern slat support aesthetic I have going on here in the entrance. Let's jump a bit forward now and enter the Malayan Wonders. I have decided on quite a curvy style of path that winds around the habitats with a central animal zone and habitats and displays on the opposite side of the path. What I found was the best solution to maximise the diversity of species in a tropical house that has a name invoking a sense of exploration. It wouldn't be much of a wonder if we saw like 2 animals. The first animal we see here is the Sunda Gharial, who inhabits the aquatic habitat inside Malayan wonders. The design of this habitat is very much inspired by the Gharial habitat at the Toronto Zoo, with a path and a sense of growing foliage on both sides. The Sunda Gharial, also known as either the false Gharial or Thomas Toma, is an endangered crocodilian with its characteristically long, narrow snout, very much like the Indian Gharial. Sunda Gharial rank among some of the largest crocodilians in the world, reaching up to 16 feet or 5 meters in length. Its impressive length and array of sharp teeth are perfect for hunting prey in its peat swamp habitat. The Gharial eats a range of animals including fish, turtles, birds, monkeys, and even small deer. Sunda Gharial are a key predator throughout its Southeast Asian range, of which it can be found in Malaysia and Indonesia, specifically Peninsular Malaysia, Borneo, and Sumatra. It used to live in Thailand and southern Vietnam, but it has been regionally extinct there since around the 1970s. Heavy pressure from hunting, deforestation, wildfires, and converting peat swamps into agricultural land has seriously damaged population. In the Malayan wonders, there is a heavy focus on bringing the Southeast Asian rainforest to life. Malaysian rainforests cover about 2/3 of the country, housing an immense biodiversity of over 15,000 plant species and about 1,600 animal species. These are some of the oldest in the world and home to a vast range of rare and endemic species such as the Borneo pygmy elephant, Borneo orangutan, and proboscis monkey. The rainforest itself is found in the tropical and subtropical moist broadleaf forest biome, where thousands of tree species form a canopy 80 to 120 feet, or 25 to 35 meters high. Tropical emergent trees, such as the tulang tree, can grow up to 280 feet, or 85 meters high. Interestingly enough, these trees have a few natural defences from threats. They have slippery trunks with high branches which protect them from sun bears, which in turn also makes them attractive to giant honey bees who hang their huge combs from the branches. These bees also protect the trees from loggers, as the value of honey is far higher than that of the timber. In Borneo, Malaysia, it is a native taboo to log these trees, and only naturally fallen trees, such as from storms, are used for timber. In the tropical house, a range of tall and impressive tropical trees bring this environment alongside the animals. Trees such as the strangler fig, acai palm, tamarind tree, and aquila tree fill the vertical space easily, introducing the rainforest to the Coldwater Zoo. On the rainforest floor, we can see, alongside many of the larger animal habitats, it is quite necessary to represent the smaller, diverse range of animals found in Malaysia. Exhibit boxes are used to house a variety of static animal props. Decorated with Indonesian bamboo and thatch roofing, I can easily introduce some of the Southeast Asian rustic architecture in a natural environment. Exhibit boxes like these are used with one animal with a specific biome setup, then the animal is removed. Exhibit boxes, when not moved after removing an animal, keep their biome scenery inside, allowing me to easily add some of the amazing exhibit boxes throughout the tropical house. This exhibit box specifically houses a mangrove snake. long black snake with narrow yellow bands along its body and face. It spends most of its time coiled around mangrove branches in riverside forests or overhanging coastal waters. Mangrove snakes are widely distributed across Southeast Asia, where they are named for their habitat of mangrove forests. Despite this, they actually prefer to inhabit tropical rainforests. This snake is mildly venomous with rear fangs, where venom is slowly released as the snake chooses prey. The snake's venom is quite weak, where it is not considered dangerous to humans. However, it is often confused with another extremely dangerous black and yellow snake, the banded krait. Other exhibit animals we can expect to see throughout Malayan wonders are the giant Malaysian leaf insect, the waggler's pit viper, Malayan pit viper, red-tailed green rat snake, tokay gecko, and the banded bullfrog. What I thought was a great representation of the smaller animals of the Malaysian rainforests, and of course static props which I can realistically make. While the exhibit boxes offer an easy enough look at the small wildlife of Malaysia, that's not all though. There are two other static prop displays in Malayan wonders. There is a large aviary housing a variety of tropical bird species, and an aquarium featuring freshwater fish. The aquarium is definitely the more exciting one to build for, so let's take a look at that. Surrounded by natural mud walls and glass barriers at the entrance of Malayan wonders, we can jump into the underwater world of the rivers of Malaysia. Found in the dense rainforests, rivers, lakes and streams wind around lush foliage with a wide range of both native and invasive fish species. Invasive species such as the pleco and peacock bass are extremely concerning for the local fish populations, where they compete with native fish, prey on eggs, or even burrow into riverbanks, causing them to collapse, which can worsen flooding. The aquarium of the Malayan wonders, however, focuses on the native fish populations. The aquarium showcases three species: the Asian arowana, giant gourami, and the tricolour shark minnow. The majestic freshwater dragonfish, otherwise known as the Asian arowana, is the key species of note. The Asian arowana is a freshwater carnivorous fish native to Southeast Asia. These are considered apex predators and known for their spectacular jumping ability. Despite growing to a length of 3 feet or 90 centimeters long and weighing 15 pounds or 7 kilograms, adult arowana can still jump well out the water to pluck prey off low-hanging branches. They eat mainly smaller fish and invertebrates, but occasionally amphibians, small birds and reptiles. Its unique jumping ability is perfect for its habitat of slow-moving, shallow waters found in forested swamps, flooded forests, and blackwater rivers. However, due to habitat destruction and overfishing for the aquarium trade, Asian arowana is endangered. This is largely part due to the fish being viewed as the golden dragon in Chinese culture. It is viewed as a lucky charm to own an arowana to bring good fortune, so the aquarium trade is largely responsible for its decline. The aquarium here at the zoo is quite a busy one, a faux tree root, lush aquatic foliage, and surrounded by tropical rocks. A faux tree root, lush aquatic foliage, and surrounded by tropical rocks. Showcases the shallow freshwater rivers of Malaysia where these fish are found. Let's move into the Malaysian forest now with a mixed animal habitat. This habitat features a sloped habitat with natural mud walls, a tropical pool with native flowers, and lots of climbing opportunities between towering bamboo. This is for the binturong and the Asian forest tortoise. Two exciting animals to mix together to highlight the diversity of the Malaysian forest. Let's start off with one of the more conservation-focused animals of the Malayan wonders. Malayan wonders. This is the Asian forest tortoise, otherwise known as the mountain tortoise or Burmese brown tortoise. This tortoise is believed to be one of the most primitive of all living tortoises, which is based on both molecular and morphological studies. This is also the largest Asian tortoise species. It is native to South and Southeast Asia, ranging from India to Indonesia, where it inhabits evergreen moist forests, including bamboo forests, like in this zoo habitat. Staple foods for this tortoise are vegetation, where it browses the forest floor daily. Because of this, the tortoise has strong, sturdy legs, which are covered in rough scales, which protect it from thorns and other countless sharp objects as it rummages through the undergrowth in search of any tasty food. The tortoise is extremely important to conservation groups due to being heavily exploited by humans. It is critically endangered due to overexploitation for trade. There are 3 markets after this tortoise. There is poaching for both meat and the use in traditional Chinese medicine, along with the global pet trade where they often sell for a high price. This only decreases the population further, increasing their price, and in turn they become even more valuable to poachers for the illegal trade markets. Above these tortoises in the mixed habitat is an animal that faces less pressure but still not exactly a common animal in the wild. This is the binturong, also known as the bear cat. Although the name binturongs are commonly found throughout the rainforests of Southeast Asia, where they spend most of their lives in the high tree canopy. In the canopy, they are always in search of their favourite foods, which is a mix of fruits, insects, and small birds. The fact surely lots of people know is the smell of the binturong. Due to a chemical in the binturong's urine, it has a distinctive smell of buttery sweet popcorn. This is actually used to create scent trails, marking their territory and signalling their location to other binturongs. The other fun fact about binturongs is they are among the only animals outside South America with a prehensile tail, and of only 2 carnivores in the world with a prehensile tail, the other being the kinkajou or honey bear of South America. A prehensile tail is an animal tail that is adapted to grab, hold, or wrap around objects. This essentially functions as an extra limb, which is pretty handy for arboreal animals who use it in aiding climbing, balancing, and supporting their weight high in the tree tops. To accommodate both animals in this mixed habitat, a semi-tropical bamboo forest is the design here, as it allows binturongs to remain lower in the habitat rather than high in the treetops. Lower glass barriers and a realistic climbing frame makes it easier to spot all the animals, even with plenty of hiding spots for them. The climbing branches can also bypass a lot of the bamboo hitboxes, allowing me to show binturongs exploring their habitat between the vast amount of towering bamboo. As no tropical habitat is complete with a good layer of undergrowth, lots of tropical flowers, vines, grasses, and bushes complement the bamboo to make an immersive Malaysian forest habitat. However, it is important to not make it too dense, as tropical forests do also have a good amount of soil appearing through the gaps. For the last build showcase this episode, let's take a look at possibly the most desired animal this episode, the clouded leopard. The stunning clouded leopard is an elusive wild cat of Southeast Asia. Rarely seen in the tropical rainforest, their behaviour in the wild is quite the mystery. Like most cats, the clouded leopard is perfectly adapted for life in the trees. They have large paws with specialised foot pads for gripping branches. Specialised ankle bones also allow varied positions for climbing, including climbing head down first trees, one of the few animals that can do this. While more closely related to big cats, the clouded leopard is neither a true small cat or a big cat because they cannot roar or purr. Instead, they are frequently described as bridging the gap between them due to their smaller stature. Like all wildcats though, clouded leopards are carnivores. Their main prey are primates, including gibbons, macaques, and slow loris. Small deer, wild boar, and birds also make up their varied diet. They are agile hunters who rely on stealth and ambush techniques to catch their prey, often pouncing from trees or dense vegetation. Clouded leopards live in dense forests across Southeast Asia, including rainforests and bamboo forests. They prefer areas of thick vegetation, which aids them in hunting and hiding, where these habitats also offer a variety of prey and access to water sources like rivers. Like a lot of animals who rely on dense forest cover, clouded leopards are greatly threatened by habitat loss. Deforestation in the tropical region of Southeast Asia is the most serious threat to clouded leopards. Their natural habitat has been heavily fragmented, and population numbers have been decreasing at a rate of 10% per year. The reason for deforestation in Southeast Asia is due to palm oil. I cannot make a Malaysia-themed episode and not mention this. Palm oil production, especially in Malaysia and Indonesia, has led to significant deforestation and habitat destruction. Palm oil is a type of vegetable oil that is extracted from the fruit of oil palm trees. More than 70 million tons of palm oil is produced globally every year, and oil palm plantations have expanded dramatically in recent decades to meet the demand. Palm oil products are found everywhere. The oil is edible, contains natural preservatives, and has no taste or smell once refined. This makes it a versatile ingredient in food, beauty products, and household goods. Items you might buy with palm oil include chocolate, margarine, baked goods, toothpaste, makeup, and detergents. Once from a local crop grown in Africa, it is now a global commodity that has grown in over 40 countries, mainly in Southeast Asia. Countless swaths of tropical forest have been destroyed, peatlands drained and converted to plantations, and along with it, huge pressure on animals like Sumatran rhino, orangutan, tigers, clouded leopards, and helmeted hornbills. Alright, so a 15 or so minute tour in that build episode, well, that's just great, isn't it? Let's start with the entrance tour and then move to the Malayan Wonders tour after that. Here we are at the zoo entrance. Coldwater Falls Zoo has gotten a massive makeover, which might be a recreation of the Como Park Zoo entrance with its lovely open park gardens plan. With a bison entrance piece and unmistakable view of the tropical house, it's just such a fun entrance to explore. Various paths take you around the entrance park. Let's imagine Coldwater Falls is in a city park now. The Como Park Zoo Visitor Centre or Coldwater Falls Zoo entrance is huge. This is an absolutely massive building with its imposing angled glass roof. We have quite a bit of paths until the entrance here, but lots of suitable temperate biome garden or park plants fill the way along. The entrance sign to the zoo is quite simple. A modern shaped sign greets us into the zoo, not like most North American zoos with their giant zoo logos, as I didn't want to deface the building aesthetic. Just before the entrance building, there is also a small garden plaza with lots of nice plants, benches, and is surrounded by water. Of course, the centerpiece is the small fountain, adding a nice atmosphere. Let's head into the building at long last. We won't find any entrance gates or ticket booths here. Coldwater Falls Zoo is now a free zoo. Pretty much like what the Como Park Zoo does, but other zoos like Lincoln Park Zoo and the St. Louis Zoo do the same thing. Inside we are greeted with an open atrium, same thing. Inside we are greeted with an open atrium-style visitor centre with wide paths, a second floor above us, and well, lots of unfinished work, I'll admit. That's not all in this atrium, we also get a fantastic view into Malayan wonders itself. The impressive tropical house right at the entrance. Here we can see Sunda Gharials, or false gharials, floating in the aquatic habitat inside the tropical house. It's impossible to hide the huge tropical building frame, but ignore that and we can step into a tropical paradise for a tour of Malaysia. Welcome to Malayan Wonders, a tour of the diversity of peninsular Malaysia in Southeast Asia. Inside a wealth of tropical wonders awaits us. First we enter a riverside themed zone where we can find the Gharial habitat, an aquarium for freshwater fish, and a mangrove exhibit. The aquarium here is home to 3 important Southeast Asian fish, the Asian arowana, the giant gourami, and the tricolour shark Manau. Detailed signage for each animal tells us about these animals. Find out what they eat, where they live, how they are doing in the wild, and see a range map to get an idea where they can be found. Opposite the aquarium, the gharials are seen with their river. Opposite the aquarium, the gharials are seen with their riverside habitat, where they either be floating in their pool or drying off on the sandbanks. Their habitat, like all habitats in Malayan Wonders, are richly planted with tropical plants to mimic their rainforest habitat. After these, we can find the other river-themed element in this form of a mangrove snake exhibit. Bamboo and Indonesian thatch decorate their exhibits to bring the rural rainforest theme to life inside Malayan Wonders. Each of these custom exhibits features one of my custom-made props, which is absolutely essential to bring the diversity of small animals to the zoo. The path now descends into the rainforest now, where we can look into the jungle canopy and spot Malaysia's national bird, the rhinoceros hornbill. These modded flying birds are perfect for such a display, bringing the Malaysian canopy to life. Hornbills have such a large aviary, allowing them to enjoy the ability of flying thanks to these centrally placed enrichments. Of course, though, every time I tour a flying bird aviary, they're always eating or resting on the ground, perhaps a bit later. Otherwise, we can enjoy the lush tropical scenery with towering bamboo and a thick undergrowth like a Malaysian rainforest. Next up is the elusive cat of the Malaysian forest. It's the clouded leopard, who have a very dense habitat to explore. Getting them to climb in a small 200 meter squared habitat was quite the challenge, but so worth the effort. The climbing branches blend in great with all the tropical trees and bamboo, giving the leopards a natural habitat to explore, even if the traverse space is quite limited on the ground. Back to the hornbills, we have one of the one on the enrichment frame, which will show us this amazing bird in flight in just a moment. In their lower habitat, a tropical waterfall provides these birds with a fresh drink. Likewise, the clouded leopards also have a waterfall pool. I don't know if they can actually access the water. Regardless though, climbing branches above the water and great viewing spots allow some great views of these cats. We have some exhibits here. This is a functional exhibit with an animal. This is the giant Malaysian leaf insect, which inside the 4-meter box is insanely hard to see them due to their tiny size and excellent camouflage. This is also probably one of the few insects I'm actually brave enough to Google pictures of to make custom media. Despite having like 10 insects in the box, I can only clearly see a single one. Just amazing having these huge boxes for insects, isn't it? Across the path here, there is a mixed habitat for the Malayan wonders, an interesting mix of binturong and Asian forest tortoise. We have the binturong above on the climbing frame, which winds around these bamboo, while the slow tortoises can be found on the ground, although seeing them with the dark brown colour is a whole other thing. A lovely collection of flowers can be found here, including the iconic Rafflesia flower, although I'm guessing in real life these tortoises would destroy virtually every tasty flower I've added. As expected, the tortoises are elsewhere in the habitat, possibly in the upper level. Binturongs like the lower level due to the enrichment and access to water. Two more exhibits in this part, lots of small animals to see here. The first exhibit is the waggler's pit viper, who's often called the temple viper, is often commonly seen in Malaysian temples. While the second exhibit is a mix of tokay gecko and the banded bullfrog. Although I'm not entirely sure if that's a safe mix, I have a feeling the gecko might end up eating the frogs. The last part of the lower level of Malayan Wonders is an enclosed aviary with a range of tropical forest birds. Not all of these are native Malaysian birds, but pretty common in Asian aviaries. The likes of the silver pheasant, bally myna, and white-crested laughing thrush are not commonly found in Malaysia, but the jambu fruit dove, black-naped Gharial, and the Asian fairy bluebird are. Regardless though, this is a nice representation of the bird life in Malaysian forests. Let's head back up on the other side now. The Binturong Habitat does follow the path, so maybe we might get a glimpse of the tortoises. Here we are, they are all in enjoying a tasty lunch of tortoise food. Maybe in 2 hours' time they might make their way back down to the lower level. We passed the final 2 exhibit boxes. Here are 2 snake species. I love making all these snake exhibits, although I did think I might have overdone it with the amount of snakes. Here we can find the Malayan pit viper and the non-venomous red-tailed green rat snake. Final stretch now, we have one last habitat to see. In a corner by the exit, we can find a small habitat absolutely full of climbing frames and tropical foliage. Taking advantage of the recent spam of squirrel mods, I absolutely had to include one of the most colourful squirrels in the world, the Provost squirrel. When they feel like climbing, we can see the adorable squirrels climbing all about their climbing frame, and then do sort of a slow motion jump down to the ground. We can find a pair of squirrels inside here where they're enjoying some food amongst their tropical forest habitat. At the end, another view of the Sunda Gharial can be found, but otherwise the Malayan Wonders tour is finished, and we can come back into the entrance visitor centre. This is a huge amount built for the new version of Coldwater Falls Zoo. This does explain why it took almost a month to complete. The insane level of building required, with an entire tropical house we just toured. Next time we head outside with even more iconic Malaysian animals to explore the amazing diversity of Southeast Asia. No tour will be complete without seeing a Malayan tapir. Thanks for watching everyone, and see you next time.